Yo, first, a common definition of the universe is the totality of existence. Another definition is everything physical that exists anywhere, the laws of physics, in all space and time, or space-time. However, some people postulate the so-called multiverse, a hypothetical group of multiple universes, the existence of numerous or even infinite number of universes, or many parallel versions of our own universe. Besides lacking evidence to back up the existence of any multiverse, the term itself is an oxymoron. That is, since a common definition of the singular universe is the totality of everything, then such so-called multiverses would simply be part of ours as a boulder atop a mountain or one mountain which is just a small part of Earth's crust. As for theoretical dimensions which exceed our familiar three, there is no evidence for those either. Also, I apply Occam's razor, novaculae Occami, the philosophic rule that potential components should not be added needlessly to eliminate superfluous universes and dimensions from consideration. This is an important principle in problem solving. As for the second definition, I deny the existence of time and so the existence of space-time de facto. Please see my video on this subject. Instead of time, I would include the totality of the spirit world, which is either unaffected by or partially impervious to the influence of matter, natural energy, and physics. Some theists claim that God exists outside of space and time in an undefinable way, and that space and time are integral to the universe. Besides being another oxymoron, considering the definitions of the universe, that is, it sounds nonsensical. And coupling this claim with the claim that God is everywhere not only makes such religionists look foolish and stupid, but it also makes them look like they subconsciously doubt God's existence. Instead, a reasonable statement is that he is simply superior to space and time, especially if time does not exist. Some claim that neither space nor time exist independently and can only exist as space-time. Interestingly, some philosophers not only claim that time does not exist whatsoever as I do, but that space does not exist either. For example, philosopher Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804, who described the notion of space as just a scheme for coordinating everything sensed externally. Another philosopher justified the denial of space by exclaiming that only various objects and the fluctuating geometry between them exist, which in our minds creates and defines ideas of space. Although I respect that idea, I do not subscribe to it. My argument is that even if only one object existed, and hence no mutual geometry between objects, its expensive energy would vary widely even if traveling through a vacuum each time. That is, if each journey varied according to calculated distance. Although I certainly see space as nothing, so is the definitive numeral zero. As to the expanse of space in whichever direction, I see it as number 00, 00000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, etc. ad infinitum. I see space as an abstract rather than a concrete reality, the necessary playing field to define everything else. Others claim that space is a concrete reality consisting of so-called quantum foam, or space-time foam, which can be bent, consumed, punctured, stretched, torn, or warped. But this is another theory lacking evidence. For the vast majority who believe in the existence of space, there is another viewpoint that is totally independent of those other views. That is, whether space is finite, having limits or bounds, or infinite, endless. You can believe that space is of limited size with definite boundaries and either believe in one universe, a multiverse, only 3 dimensions, more than 3, time exists, time does not exist, there's a definite spirit world, no spirits, only science, space is quantum foam, space is just emptiness. You can likewise believe that space is endlessly infinite while holding to either of the 2 ideas within each of those 5 pairs of concepts. Some religionists have argued that space cannot be infinite since only God is infinite. I strongly disagree, though I agree that the plethora of life forms, planets, stars, and galaxies must be finite since they are merely his creation, and infinite emptiness would not besmirch his glory one iota. Space has no value unless it contains something, at least on a temporary or sporadic basis. I hold the opposite view in that if God is infinite, space should be infinite too, since logically God cannot exist outside the universe, totality of everything. A finite universe would constrain God within its limited boundaries, would it not? And let us suppose that we could reach the boundaries of our allegedly finite universe. Now, what are those boundaries made of? Within the realm of human experience, whatever something is made of takes up space. Additionally, no matter what thickness the boundaries are, there would be space beyond them too. Unless the boundaries were infinitely thick, which would by definition give us an infinite universe, not a finite one. If only a slight thickness and the space beyond them only finite, would you not encounter a second set of boundaries with their own thickness? And if of finite thickness, then a finite space behind them, which eventually encounters a third set of boundaries, followed by more space in a perpetual cycle. If not, why not? Yes, the full import of an infinite universe is so mind-boggling and beyond human comprehension that if you contemplated it deeply enough, your head might explode. But how could it be otherwise? Regardless, everyone must agree that our universe is big. Extremely enormous, humongous, immense, and Brobdingnagian. Consider that while over 1 million Earths could fit inside our sun, almost 5 billion suns could fit into the red hypergiant star UY Scuti. Now, how big is UY Scuti compared to the observable universe? Just the part we can detect. Smaller than a single raindrop in the entire Atlantic Ocean. Our observable universe's tremendous supersize is estimated at 247 sextillion miles, or 440 sextillions, or billion trillion kilometers. Is that square? Miles/kilometers? No! That's cubic miles/kilometers. Considering the total living space of New York's Empire State Building, how many Empire State Buildings of space are in the observable universe? 1 octillion, 235 septillion. And again, the full universe might be infinitely larger. Realizing such immensity should pulverize any sinful pride or arrogance we might have into microdust, which the wind takes away. This should also make us very hopeful, as our everyday concerns, problems, and worries are so minuscule and nanoscopic as to be extremely insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe and its preeminent orchestrator. Although simpler theories are usually preferable to more complex ones, as they tend to be more accurate when verified, I realize that the simplest explanation is not always the right one. However, I must again rear up the principle of Occam's razor. That's because for each logical explanation of a phenomenon, there may be an extremely large number of ever more complex alternatives, many of which are incomprehensible. Since failing explanations can always be cobbled together with extra hypotheses, and those hypotheses doctored with ever more postulations to prevent them from being falsified, we must be wise to these dishonest schemes. Here, when it comes to the universe, things like 11 different dimensions, the multiverse, string theory, quantum foam, theoretical wormholes, the idea that everything we perceive is just an illusion, and other crap are just imaginary pipe dreams that attempt to evade the otherwise obvious intelligent design, bolster Big Bang and abiogenesis nonsense, and thus get rid of God and enthrone humans as God instead. Rather, we must do the opposite. Seek the Lord and seek to submit to his will. I discuss theology in depth in many other posts. See you later.